Hi everyone, what happens if you take a buggy from PUBG, a tank and hybridize them? In this video I want to install tracks on my buggy. I've always wanted more passable all-wheel drive machine, but it wasn't possible to put a full drive in such buggy because of its size and design features, but it's quite real to put the buggy on the crawler tread. I want to use a very simple version of homemade tracks, but despite all their simplicity it'll take a lot of patience and time for their assembly as you'll need to make hundreds of identical details and also twist it all together. So I'll start working with the tracks. To saw them I'll use a self-made machine from the angle grinder which helped me out several times. I measured length of 40 centimeters with a limiter at once. The future width of the track will be determined by the track link. The track link will be made of an angle with a ledge of 25 millimeters. First cut will be checking to make sure the detail has the correct length. Everything is okay, that means we can cut 100 such details into 50 track links for each track. Then we need to cut the limiters from a bar with 10 mm diameter that won't allow the tracks to fly off the rollers. They need to be cut twice as much, 2 pieces for each track link. The cut studs will be bent into the brackets by means of a simple construction which consists of several details and one roller made of bearings. It's not difficult to bend all those things in fact, but when you need to bend about 200 parts your hands get really tired. At the moment I have angles and staples ready for the track, but before they'll be welded we need to make 4 holes in each angle for the conveyor belt which will fasten all the details together. When you have to make a lot of identical details the templates come to the rescue and somehow simplify the work. The template is made of the same angle and the holes are reinforced with nuts so they cannot break quickly and the holes cannot shift from the needed position. Thus we need to drill 400 holes. I immediately made a conductor for details welding. The size between the brackets is determined by the width of the future roller which in my case will be made of the car wheels. After the welding we got such a self-made track link. I alternated drilling and welding between each other. I let the drilling machine cool because it is a whole test for such machine to drill 400 holes, and by the way it survived. Thus I welded a whole bunch of such details that would be fastened between themselves with a conveyor belt. I took 14 meters of 5 mm thick belt. Of course I'd like it to be thicker, but that was what I found. We need to cut it along into stripes of 10 centimeters. At first I tried to cut it with the angle grinder, but that wasn't very effective. At the end I cut it with a utility knife. Although with some difficulties the blade cuts the rubber through along with the reinforced layer. In each tape we need to drill the holes with a pitch of 13 centimeters. Another template will help me with this. First I tried to make the holes with a regular 8 mm drill. The edges become uneven and it gets hard to put the bolt into the hole. I made a drill from a steel tube. Tried to make a hole with it. It turned out almost perfect, but since it's the rubber the bolt fits in hardly. That's why I decided to make 9 mm holes. The drill becomes cluttered with the rubber which easily gets out with the help of ordinary self-tapping screw. In the end we got such flat holes with the same distance. Now there's left to cover 2 tape pieces with 200 holes for each. I bought 5 kilograms of mounting hardware for each position, about 400 pieces with a reserve. The nuts were taken with a plastic ring as the track will undergo strong vibrations, and usual nuts will simply untwist. The reinforced washers will be installed on the side of the conveyor belt, and the 8mm bolts themselves. I tried to screw the first track link to the tapes. Then realized that the bolts should be turned over as the nut will touch the ground and it'll be screwed even with the bent washer. First I started all the fasteners and then tightened everything up with a screwdriver and a wrench. You'd better buy a nut fastener for such kind of work, it greatly simplifies the task. First meter of the track is ready, there are still 13 left. I decided not to divide it into 2 parts at once and made a whole 14-meter long track. As a result, there were long empty ends of tapes. I need them to connect the track into the ring. After twisting, I put the track on the workshop floor for cutting it into 2 parts. By the way, despite the external lightness of the track, it has not a small weight. I counted an equal number of the track links on each side and cut the tape into 2 parts. We got 2 7-meter long tracks. For their fitting, I drove the buggy into the workshop. I lifted one side and tried in place. It's quite clear that those wheels won't fit, they have different radius and width. The track also scrapes the shock absorber, but it's not a problem as they aren't needed in this construction. We still need to install a central wheel so that the track center can have a support. Initially, I wanted to make a separate annex with the tracks on which the buggy would be fixed from above, and the rotation from the engine to the tracks would be transmitted with the chain. But when I imagined what it would look like in place, I realized that I won't cope with such construction and such gearbox. It's necessary to sharpen the shafts, install the support bearings, or we'll have to remove this gearbox and put the axle from the rear drive car, which is also difficult. Of course, that would allow me to use the entire length of the track, but there are more disadvantages than advantages, and I decided to make the tracks in place with the replacement of wheels and shock absorbers. The first thing I did was replacing of the shock absorbers. I'll weld them from the pipe, and there will be a steel bushing instead of the silent block. Due to this, the ride height will be increased and the track won't hit the absorber. As I said, the wheels need to be changed, but I completely forgot that the discs of 13th radius don't fit because of the large support, so I had to buy 2 wheels of 14th radius. I immediately tried the track on and it scraped again, but the pipe this time. This happened because of a small standard wheels offset. Hope at least the front wheel will be okay. Good thing is that it has already gotten in and doesn't touch the turning tie rod arm, but its offset also doesn't allow the track to move freely. I don't have wheel spacers and I don't intend to do wide discs either. I'll just make the curved inserts in the pipes, thereby bypassing the tracks. It was also possible to make a whole bent pipe, but I'd already welded the silent blocks through and had no wool to saw them off. Now everything is fine, and you can pull the track on the wheel rollers. For this purpose, I lowered the wheels and immediately cut off an extra meter from the track. I'll make the stretcher using a sling and a tightening gear. Successfully, the holes came together and I just screwed the missing track links. I lifted one side again to check running with the track. Now we can pump the wheels, thereby the track will become more tensed. If it weakens over time, we can replace the front wheels of the 13th radius with the 14th one and the track tension will recover. Well, now the tracks make Buggy look completely different. I tried to ride first meters and got unusual sensations. It shakes a little at the start, but in general is so cool. I decided to put a piece of pipe as an obstacle. Guess in real conditions the tracks will easily overcome such obstacles. There's left to install the center wheel. It'll be one as two pieces will already be chock-a-block, and I think there's no sense to complicate the construction. The rear hub from the front-wheel drive car will be used for the wheels fastening. They are often used in homemade trailers. It'll be attached outside the disc. There is nothing wrong with it as the load here is several times less. How can we now connect these hubs to the frame through the straight axis? This can't be done as the seat will prevent it. I decided to make a frame for it. I'll weld it out of shaped tubes. It's good that the hub is assembled, and it won't be so difficult to attach it to the shaped tube. I didn't find a suitable crown and made a hole in such manner for the central part of the hub. I screwed the wheels to the hub and put them in their place. We need to measure the distance between the pipes and cut off two bridges. Before the welding, it is important to put the wheels steady, so that the load can be distributed evenly during the driving. Later the welded construction should be attached to the frame on the clamps. Now it is a practically ready all-terrain vehicle. Now I want to check how it turns. Until the turning mechanism isn't ready, I blocked one track with the pipe. That's not okay, so I put a piece of pipe in thrust. The rotation happens with the help of differential. While one part is blocked, the other is spinning. It almost turns around at a place. Hope the engine power will be enough for such turns. We also need to cut the angles so they cannot touch the ground while turning. I'll make it with a swivel gear in the next part. It'll be connected to standard brakes, and I hope it'll be possible to control the rotation with a steering wheel or as usual with the levers as on tractor. Thanks everyone for your attention. If you like the video, put your thumbs up and subscribe if not yet. See you in the next part.